welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Tuesday, everyone. I hope your guys' week is off to a great start. We've got another video on the channel today. We're going to be taking a look at Mercury's ingress into the sign of Taurus. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, click the bell button below and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if this is helpful for you, and let me know where this transit is taking place in your natal chart. So I'm excited to talk about this. We've got lots going on. Finally getting out of what has been a rather hectic Mercury transit in the sign of Aries. Several long months of this combative mental energy. We are now leaving shadow. And on the 15th, actually, we're going to see Mercury's ingress into the fixed earth sign of Taurus. So those of you guys who are ruled by Mercury, if you are a Gemini or a Virgo rising, you guys are most likely going to be feeling this the most because this is your chart ruler. But equally, Taurus placements as well will be feeling the change when it comes to communication. Now, specifically, Mercury is going to be in the sign of Taurus from May 15th through June the 3rd, after which it will then move into Gemini. So that's a whole other video. But let's kind of go through this. Let's talk a little bit about the archetype of Mercury and Taurus, what this means for all of us in terms of communication, organization, health, and productivity. And if you guys stay tuned to the end, I'll take it through the 12 rising signs and talk about where this transit is taking place in your natal horoscope. Now, with Mercury moving into Taurus, this is definitely going to be making conversation a little bit sweeter because Taurus is ruled by Venus. It's hard to miss this big kind of Taurus party going on out in the skies. We have had some conjunctions with Uranus, and we've got some upcoming conjunctions with Jupiter. So it's really a good time to familiarize yourself with where Taurus is in your horoscope. That particular house is going to tell you where the communication is going to be taking place. But I anticipate that this is going to make conversations a little bit more down to earth, more practical, solid, and a lot less fiery. Now it's time to focus on talking about what you love, desire, and what it is that you'd like to create, because Taurus is ruled by Venus, so it might really help some of these relationship communication issues kind of die down. It's also going to have our mind on our money and our money on our mind. Now, if you have a natal Mercury in Taurus or even a second house Mercury, you know that when it comes to anything intellectual, you have a tendency to be more so geared towards stabilization, consistency, and really focusing on communicating your values. So for all of us who don't have that, but we're experiencing the transit, I think it can be really helpful in us being a little bit more determined. Yes, Mercury and Taurus can sometimes be a little fixed and rigid because it is a fixed sign, but I do think that being that it's moving through an earth sign, it's going to help us really when it comes to analysis and problem solving. Now, Mercury in Taurus is very practical and grounded when it comes to its approach with communication and thinking. That's because Taurus likes to take its time. It likes to kind of go through this process of figuring out what's going to be the most productive, what's going to be the most valuable, what feels the best. So likely we're taking our time and indulging in things that are intellectual that we enjoy, like a good long book, or maybe just really focusing on talking about the things that we love the most. Now, I think that this particular placement of Mercury is definitely known for its consistency. It's known for being very steadfast, and it's hard to miss because they generally have a pretty noticeable voice as well. Mercury in Taurus definitely has like a beautiful voice. Those of you guys who are working in the fields of like writing or communication, you may really love this transit because it's really going to allow you to communicate and express yourself in a much more, I think, beautiful kind of way. One thing that I've noticed about this placement, both in transit but also in natal charts, is that it's really hard to sway a Mercury and Taurus's opinion. They have a tendency to be very committed to what they believe in or what they think. They have a very strong sense of conviction when it comes to their ideas. And they can, like I said, be perceived as being stubborn, but I think this really contributes to their ability to stay focused on their goals and see projects through completion. So if you're wanting to really take time to start writing a book or taking a course, or maybe you're really interested in doing some kind of creative writing, this is a beautiful transit to do that because you're going to be really committed to it and you might likely enjoy it as well. I also really feel like this is a good time just to get down to basics. You know, Mercury can be about communication and travel and business, but it can also be about problem solving, especially when it comes to finding solutions. So Taurus is great for, with this transit, it's great for like getting your finances in order. It's great for like downloading new applications for money and investing and saving. If you're somebody who is hoping to, you know, get a little bit of a better sense of knowing what you're eating, where your food is coming from, planting a garden, things like that, this is a wonderful transit for that as well. Just keep in mind that you know, sometimes we can be a little limited in terms of what it is that we are open to learning about when we're dealing with Mercury in a fixed sign. So there can be a less of a likelihood to be open to new unconventional ideas when Mercury is in this sign. Although I will say Mercury coming into conjunction with Uranus is definitely going to kind of open us up a little bit to new innovations when it comes to Taurus topics, food, money, love, maybe even style. And I think it'll help us consider different perspectives. So it might have a little bit of a different spin than the traditional Mercury and Taurus transit. But I think about Taurus and it's about productivity. It's about what they're able to build, what they're able to complete, because they're seeking pleasure, they're seeking stability. So I love this for, you know, being able to focus on long-term plans. I love this for rational thinking, really taking our time to kind of soak it all in and absorb something that we love. So like I said, you Taurus, Gemini, and Virgo risings, be mindful of this transit. It'll impact you a little bit more. Something that I was also thinking about is that, you know, Venus, at the beginning of this transit, Venus is the dispositor for Mercury. Venus is the dispositor for all these planets in Taurus. So while Venus is still in Taurus, I definitely feel like this is a wonderful time to communicate, tell people that we love them, tell people what we love about them, be speaking kindly about ourselves, really building on and working on having healthier self-esteem. And yeah, I think this is a wonderful time to be sharing with other people some really like kind words. When Venus changes signs and she moves into Gemini, we're going to see some mutual reception. So we're going to see Venus in a mercurial sign. We're going to see Mercury, you know, in a Venusian sign. So we're still going to have some of the same flavor. You'll still see some of the same stuff kind of going on. But I do think that it's probably going to be a little bit sweeter while Venus is still in the sign of Taurus. I think for everybody, this can also be some good news when it comes to money and resources as well, because Jupiter is in the same sign, at least at the very beginning of this transit. And I think about Jupiter's ingress into Gemini pretty soon. So we're going to have Jupiter going into Gemini, expanding the mind, communication, travel, learning, everything to do with gadgets, electronics. And then Mercury is going to be the ruler of Jupiter. So it can indicate that we are taking our time to learn about new languages, learn about new financial options, to be learning also about investments. And it may be a peak period while we have that transit and Jupiter is trine Pluto, that there can be some new state-of-the-art things that are kind of coming out in the world, new ideas that we can be working on, building and investing in that could be quite lucrative down the road. So I'd like to take you guys through the trek. I want to show you guys some of the most important kind of aspects that we're going to see throughout this transit. Like I said, from the 15th of May all the way until the 3rd of June, Mercury will be in this sign. And so I'm taking a look at the 15th, but I just want to really kind of marinate on the fact that this has been a particularly difficult and brutal Mercury retrograde cycle that we've had in the sign of Aries. Several months with Mercury in this sign. It has been involved in a eclipse where we saw kind of like a cazimi taking place with the sun, some unexpected information that came out during that solar eclipse in Aries where we were much more self-focused, needing to communicate and express our wounds, heal ourselves, and focus on new beginnings. Now, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's cardinal fire, so it was about initiating something. And it seems to me like the process the last 2 months has been working out all of the kinks, all of like the ouches, and figuring out what hasn't been working. So that way when Mercury goes into Taurus, we can kind of find our groove and kind of go like, okay, now we're focusing more on talking about how our body feels when we're dealing with stress, or really expressing what we value or what we think about things in a much more comfortable manner. So there's been a method to the madness. It is done, you know, as you guys are watching this on Tuesday, we're coming out of shadow. So you're more than welcome to sign your leases, agree to contracts, you know, have your meetings, you know, book your travel. There will be some sweet aspects to this Mercury transit in the sign of Taurus and some salty ones. That's just the way that the cookie crumbles out in the cosmos. And right off the bat, something that we're going to start to feel, because they work with about a 2-degree orb, is that when now planets move into Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, it's being challenged by Pluto. So off the bat, right when we start the transit, we're gonna feel some of the pressure from that opening square to Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto is now retrograde. It's going to be retrograde through the summer. It's heading back into Capricorn, but it is sitting at that pivotal 2 degrees. So when you practice degree astrology or degree theory, right, each individual degree correlates with a specific sign. So you guys have heard me use this a lot, but this is going to be a really important one to watch because we've got Pluto sitting in Aquarius, totally revolutionizing, making big radical changes to the collective, to the internet, right, to networks, to systems, to anything that deals with Uranian kind of topics. This is about panels of people. This is about freedom. This is about people talking about where they're reevaluating power structures out in the world and the control that it has over something. Now, what's really important to look at is that Uranus is actually the ruler of Aquarius. So it's the dispositor of Pluto. And Uranus is sitting very close to Venus this week, where we're seeing lots of innovations, disruptions, unexpected situations going on with the financial system. We're hearing news out of Canada where they're saying, you know, basically Canadians prepare for some kind of financial stress on the system. You're seeing specific banks in Australia that are completely converting to cashless banking, and they're no longer dealing with cash and giving some customers ultimatums. We're seeing more talk about new cryptocurrencies and CBDCs here in the United States, and people sitting at the World Economic Forum openly discussing that they're wanting to move to a complete cashless society. This is all very much directly connected to Pluto in Aquarius at 2 degrees, where groups of people are making decisions about your money. Now, if we look at Uranus sitting here in the sign of Taurus, it is about upending and changing and radical rocks and rolls with money and banks and those systems. Venus is close by, so we're going to see that kind of rock and rattle and roll, where we're going to see opportunities for liberation when it comes to money. I think we're going to see some more financial pressure throughout this next week, where potentially there may be more banking collapses, but also things that are affecting us environmentally. That can definitely happen because Taurus is an earth sign. So we've got 2 degrees here, which is Taurus, which deals with wallets, banking, food, the environment, stuff connected to the planet, growth, trees, food. And then we see all of these planets moving through Taurus. So the cosmos are kind of mirroring the same thing. Mercury represents things like newspapers, articles, stuff that you hear on the news, emails, phone calls, text messages, anything that we can kind of like organize and assess. So it can be about processing systems. It can be about, you know, transacting and buying and selling and doing business. It can also be about travel. So when we start to see Mercury going through the sign of Taurus, you want to look at the sign as the lens which that planet is communicating. So basically, Mercury likes to talk, right? It likes to move around. It likes to reorganize things and kind of assess things. It's like a fax machine. It's just spitting out information. And so what does Mercury want to talk about when it's in Taurus? Taurus things. It wants to talk about food. It wants to talk about money. It wants to talk about jewelry and perfume and things that are beautiful because it's connected to Venus. and Venus is in the same sign. So as Venus is coming into conjunction with Uranus, there's going to be much more talk about future innovations with these things. So as Mercury is coming into an opening square with Pluto at 2 degrees, now the pressure is on, the mental pressure is on. People are starting to kind of wake up and realize, hold on a second, what's actually going on with resources? Taurus is all about what I possess, what is mine, the money that I have in my hand, the food I have in the fridge, the house that I possess, the things that I have, what I value, and what I can obtain or build on. So Mercury is feeling threatened by Pluto, right? Pluto's like the big bad wolf hanging out in Aquarius, where he's basically saying, ooh, the future is undefined, you know, it's going to be a scary world out there, and we're going to have to do X, Y, and Z and kind of take control. And Mercury is going to be like, I don't really know how I feel about that. How is that affecting my things? So think about that right off the bat. You'll see basically from about the 15th until the 18th that this square will be taking place. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the Sabian symbol. So let's take a look at the Sabian symbol for 3 degrees of Taurus. So as you guys see, the square is actually going to happen on the 17th here. And it'll happen at, 2 degrees and change. So we're going to read Taurus 3, and we're going to see what it says. So we have a better understanding of like what kind of, communications and things that are going to be happening. You guys know me, I always round up. If it's not exactly 2 degrees, then we have to round up. But something that I do want to note is that Taurus 2, okay, so the square is at 2 degrees. Taurus 2 is an electrical storm. All right, so think about what's been happening with like all this crazy stuff that's going on, where people are seeing, the aurora borealis out in the sky all over the world in colors of like pink and purple, and this solar storm that's been going on. Uranus is connected to freak storms, so there's no coincidence that as we've had conjunctions to Uranus, this has been going on out in the world, and we're hearing about that pressure that's being put on satellites and also anything to do with like communication systems. But this is actually about tension release. So the accent is on some kind of like climactic event. So even though we're going to read 3, I just wanted to put that out there and let you guys know that this is a degree that's kind of coming up that's about not losing your head when things get kind of intense. This can be mentally when it comes to communication and that pressure that's coming from Pluto, but it can also be about news that's kind of breaking out in the world. All right. So sticking with the plan, we're going to stick with the plan. We've got Taurus 3, and this is steps up to a lawn blooming with clover. The higher path. So the symbol speaks to a man's growing realization of divinity in the beauty that surrounds him, and the fact that nothing can stop an individual from pursuing his goals or dreams when he believes they can be realized. The image of the steps up to a lawn blooming with clover alludes to a desirable goal within easy reach. Clover symbolizes prosperity, enjoyment, freedom from care. It's the 3-leaf structure that represents the Holy Trinity. The stairs leading upward symbolize the ambition, optimism, inspiration, and questing. The way and means in which the goal is present in this image, but suggestion here is that the individual must take the initiative, set his foot on the path, and put forth the required effort to reach it. At its highest, it represents vision, optimism, and determination to keep going until the goal is reached. Negative is unrealistic expectations or unrealized hopes and dreams and the result of laziness or a foolish dependence on luck. The accent is on beauty and enjoyment and a tendency to view things through rose-colored glasses. The mood is upbeat and optimistic. Goals seem to be within reach. What's interesting is that Taurus is all about embodiment. It's about how things feel and pleasure and enjoyment, and it can be about indulgence. So we start to see, Mercury coming into this square with Pluto, where it's like maybe we're feeling a little guilty or we're feeling bad about indulging in ideas or things that, seem like they're unobtainable. When in reality, fear can really kind of get your goat with this transit this week. You want to watch for people who can be kind of negative or pessimistic or kind of like poo-pooing on your dreams or what you think is possible. If you're talking about how beautiful and amazing something is, somebody could be like, well, this is wrong with it. Or you shouldn't enjoy that thing, because it's not right. Quite literally, Taurus can be about food. and what we're consuming and information and data that's coming up pertaining to cows or dairy or anything relating to farming, and where this information is grounded, practical, factual, and it's being challenged by some kind of futuristic kind of order. When I think about this, I think it's about suggesting that through patience and allowing things to unfold naturally, one can actually achieve a state of prosperity and contentment. Something I notice about people who have Mercury in the second house or Mercury in Taurus is there's this sense of being like, don't rush the conversation, don't rush the process, let things unfold, let's just enjoy this, like let's just, let this conversation build, or like let, the story kind of, play out. There's a tendency to really want to take their time. So when I think about this, I think also about, other than patience and persistence, which are very Taurus things, the blooming of the clovers and the connection to good luck and blessings, indicating that one's efforts will be rewarded in due time. Don't get scared, don't get threatened, don't let other people's, vision of the future impact or affect what you're building or what you're focused on creating. That's the advice I have for you guys, because I definitely think that, like I said, Pluto can kind of get your goat with this square. When we see squares between Mercury and Taurus and Pluto and Aquarius, there is a potential for deep and transformative communications within relationships, because Taurus is ruled by Venus. Now, this aspect can bring intensity and profound change in the way that information is processed and shared between individuals. Taurus is more on a personal level. We look at like the first quarter of the chart, and it's very much who I am, what do I have, and what do I have to say. If we look at the fourth quarter of the chart, this is much more about what's going on in the collective. So there's this clash going on between personal values and the projected ideal values for the collective, this blanket statement. Everybody should think this way. Everybody should make this sacrifice. Everybody should kind of be a part of this group. And we're going to see individuals start actually going, actually, that's not what I think, or that's not necessarily what I value. What you value may not be what I value. So you're going to see a little bit of that clash with the square, because it's like a Mars-like energy. Intense communication, right? We can be pressing people to return phone calls and emails. There can be a little bit of like a nasty tone sometimes to communication. There can be a tendency to spy, to pry. And I've said for a very long time that Pluto in Aquarius very much is going to be about like a surveillance state of things, how technology and innovations, especially with all different kinds of like new computing or AI, and the ability for that to radically transform Pluto in Aquarius, something about the collective. So this square can actually be information pertaining to surveillance that's going on with bank accounts, concerns also for privacy when it comes to the future of digital transactions, so on and so forth. I would say also something to kind of watch for is that, this can encourage critical thinking and desire for deeper understanding and interpersonal connections. However, the intensity can also lead to power struggles and the need for control, which may require open communication and mutual respect to navigate effectively. So we don't want to push people to communicate, respond, agree throughout this transit. You'll see this kind of, like I said, hanging around pretty much from about the 15th through the 18th or the 19th. Would not be a time that I would be launching a business, trying to sign a contract, trying to plan some kind of travel. Let this kind of ease up a little bit before you make any of those moves. And I would also say that, like, because squares remind me of Mars energy, which can be about attacks, this can be about information that's kind of coming up about whether or not we actually have security within our financial systems. Passwords, PIN numbers, email passwords, things pertaining also to security codes, locks, keys, crypto keys, things like that. That's something that you guys are going to want to be mindful of. Aquarius is quite literally about collectives or groups or anything pertaining to the internet. So be really mindful about your information, especially stuff that's like case sensitive. It is possible sometimes when we see these squares that there is some kind of information that comes out about a data leak or something that kind of broke out where sensitive information was put out there. Let's see, what else do we have here? So then we're really gonna have a transit for about 10 days. So things are gonna be kind of chill until we start to see a sextile to Saturn. Outside of maybe when we have, let's see, so when we have the sun, well, we're gonna have the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, so hold on a second. So on the 18th, when the Sun and Jupiter come into conjunction, this is also when we're having the Mercury-Pluto square. So it is possible that some kind of like highlight of a situation or awareness of something, especially pertaining to like laws, may be about, you know, surveillance or information or something that's become like a little bit more of a sensitive topic. So that's worthy of mentioning. When the moon goes through either Gemini or when it goes through Virgo, that's when you're going to want to be paying attention to Mercury as well. And also when we get into Gemini season. So we'll see the sun go into Gemini on the 20th of May. We will also see Jupiter go into Gemini, and that's going to be happening, it looks like, around the 26th. So these days, even though nothing's really going on with Mercury, these days are important because now we've got the Sun, Venus, and Jupiter all in a mercurial sign. So Mercury hanging out in Taurus, rather unexpected. It's building into a sextile with Saturn, which I think is good. Is definitely going to be more news, information, communication, which looks like it's pretty sweet, right? Sun in Gemini, highlighting communication, travel, and learning. Venus in Gemini, which is about sharing, you know, what we love and being able to do it in a much more kind of changeable, flexible, lively way, right? This is an air sign, which is about information and socializing and movement. And then Jupiter, it's very likely that a lot of this opportunity at the end of May for some kind of significant growth, positive communication, good information, good news, things that we're learning, all of this trine to Pluto is very powerful, is connecting to Mercury. So people are going to be investing in, oh, there's a new social platform, there's a new app, there's a new technology, there's this new tech stock. These kinds of things are going to be coming up, and people are going to be talking about the value of that, especially with Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, which is really highlighting communication and travel and transportation. Jupiter's trine to Pluto will be very short, but very sweet. Pluto is about power, and when you see Jupiter and Venus kind of nuzzling up to each other, trining Pluto is a small window of time, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th of May, that can be extremely abundant. So I'd be keeping my eyes on, you know, what new news stations or new media stations or what new kind of subscriptions or other things are going to be like hot and up and coming. Could be good news also for cars and vehicle or automakers in general. There might be some significant unveiling or discussion about new cell phones that are going to be coming out or new ways of communicating, which also looks very interesting as well. Anyway, we keep an eye on what's going on with Mercury in a very, very significant way as we're going through Gemini season. Now, we're going to start to see on the 28th that Mercury is going to begin coming into a sextile with Saturn. I do feel like Saturn, you know, thank God for Saturn. Saturn's like kind of holding things down for us as we start to see some kind of chaotic stuff happening with conjunctions to Uranus this week. The sextiles to Saturn, I think, are keeping us stable and solid. Saturn in Pisces, helping make dreams a reality. This is also about knowing our limits, being aware of our limits, what we're absorbing, what we can take on. This is about all of the things that are around us that kind of affect us that we can't see. This can also be about issues relating to water, to borders, to immigration, to issues when it comes to conflict with religion and belief systems, because after all, it's ruled by Jupiter. So this is in the sign of temples and spiritual centers. Saturn also rules, governments and anything connecting to leadership and overlooking and overseeing, because it rules top-down structures. Saturn in Pisces has been a very emperor has no clothes period, really, for like the last year plus now, where everybody's starting to look around and going like, who's running the show? Anyway, Saturn in a sextile to Mercury is positive because it means that there is support on standby. So it's saying, hey, I got you. I really like Saturn in Pisces for this faith or this hope or this belief system that we have in a higher power, in a spiritual something out there that's bigger than us. And it really shows us the importance of believing in things even if we can't see it yet. So Saturn sextiling Mercury is basically saying, don't wig out, I got you, I'm watching, I've got you kind of behind the scenes, and a little bit of hope and prayers will get you a long way with this transit. If Mercury represents communication, learning, and the mind, and it's sextiling Saturn, which is solid, this is a day to really pay attention to your dreams, to your intuition, to your faith. This is a time if you read spiritual texts, if you practice breath work, if you want to read, some kind of spiritual or sacred or religious text, I would be doing that. The sextile will be at 18 degrees, which is a little bit dicey. This is a degree that does deal with health and job numbers and things relating to organization and health centers. And I do feel like even though Mercury sextile Saturn is kind of saying, I've got your back, I'm supporting you if there is some kind of stress, mental stress, financial stress. Could this be, support or like bank bailout or bail-ins? Could this be, something that is kind of coming in that is holding things together and keeping them from kind of falling apart maybe? But I'm not too wild about that 18 degrees because I do think that it can be news, right? Mercury relating to health, 18 degrees, and the health of the food systems, the banking systems, and where we're being told by those who are in charge, everything's fine, we've got some problems, but we've got it under control. I don't know, because a couple days later we'll see the conjunction to Uranus. Now, when Mercury forms a sextile to Saturn, it's also building into a sextile with Neptune. So we will see the second aspect that it makes as a part of that is a Neptune sextile several days later. When we put these two together, I think it's suggesting a period of enhanced communication and mental focus with a blend of practicality and inspiration. So if we really just look at the sextile between Mercury and Saturn, I see this as like having a grounded and practical approach, Saturn, to communicating and thinking. Granted, you're going to have to sleep on it, you're going to have to meditate, you're going to have to ask your tarot cards, you're going to have to kind of think about it and go, ooh, what is my gut telling me? But I do feel like this can help make plans, organizing thoughts and expressing ideas with clarity a whole lot easier because it's promoting a disciplined approach to learning and understanding and allowing for the effective use of knowledge and communication skills with Saturn support. So if you're looking for a good time to agree to something, sign a contract, make an agreement, start a job, make an investment, come up with a plan, this is definitely a decent time to do it, especially as we're starting to see the moon separate from Pluto and start forming a trine with Jupiter and Venus. Come up with a budget during this transit, commit to a new way of spending, commit to a new way of consuming. This can also be a wonderful time where you're taking stock in what you have and what you need and start thinking about living simpler because that's really what Taurus is all about. Now, as we start to kind of see that separate, the next aspect that Mercury will make is a conjunction to Uranus. You'll feel this likely within about a degree. So the conjunction will actually happen at 24 degrees. It looks like this is going to be happening on the 31st. Usually Mercury in Taurus is slow and steady, really practical in its communication and thought process. But this is kind of out of the box. I, for one, have a tendency to really like the Mercury-Uranus conjunctions. I think that it's a great day for problem solving. There is likely some kind of unexpected surprise or information that kind of gets out. It can also be a time where we have like a download or some kind of insight and it's just like this genius moment. However, there can be some mental stress and tension. We can definitely see gadgets and websites, and sometimes we can see things kind of like fry out that can be like electrical. So watch for that as well. But I do think that, it's going to be interesting because we're going to see a sextile from the moon and Saturn to this also. So we're combining with the conjunction Mercury's communication and Uranus's kind of tricks. So when we see this conjunction, this is the Sabian symbol is going to be 25 degrees because we're going to round up. So let's see what it is for 25 degrees of Taurus. Here we go. Okay, a large, well-kept public park. The keyword is recreation. The theme is group work. The symbol speaks to a division of labor and the benefits to be gained by working with others in a common group endeavor. The image of a large, well-kept park describes a community gathering place, and it dramatizes the fact that there are some things in life that an individual can't accomplish by himself or that require cooperation or effort to establish and maintain. It also emphasizes the fact that self-worth can only be realized in the ordinary, everyday world as an individual discovers when and how he needs others and they need him in return. At the positive, at its highest, it represents community leadership and unselfish dedication, welfare of all people. Watch for lack of self-confidence, a tendency to be easily swayed or influenced by the thoughts or opinions of others. Today, the accent is on enjoyment. Take time to savor the fruits of your labor. Community or social gatherings bring a special pleasure. Your greatest advantage lies in working on group rather than personal projects at this time. Focus on aesthetics and add some touch of beauty to the world around you. Guard against giving into pressure from others against your better judgment. Don't waste your time arguing over trivial matters. Stepping stones is common ground, cooperative effort, shared resources, group project, division of labor, and beautification. So, it's at 24 degrees, so it's a Pisces degree. So I think it's about this intuitive or knowing of being like, I need somebody else's help, or I need to ask somebody else to kind of assist me, or how can I kind of bring other people in and how we can work together. We are getting ready to also see that Sun-Venus Cazimi that's happening. So Venus is getting really close to the Sun, and I think it's going to be about how we can actually become more solid physically, financially, and in our relationships through communicating and working with other people. Now, the moon's going to be conjunct Saturn when this happens, and then the moon will be between Saturn and Neptune. So it is possible that we could see some situations where people are in need. We're seeing flooding issues, some extreme weather. There is a sense of this awareness of people who have less than we do, and needing to kind of reach out and help others who are in need and really kind of showing up to the plate. So that'll be interesting to kind of see what happens, because this is a very Pisces energy at 24 degrees. And then that moon is going to hit Saturn and Neptune as well. So it's about building and being stronger and providing for others and being able to kind of band together. I think that, something that this really makes me think about is the importance of, maintaining and enjoying public spaces. And I think this can be about being outside, being around others, enjoying parks and recreation, being closer to nature, because that's what Taurus loves. And also, being able to do that sometimes in the midst of urban life. I think this signifies a need for balance between personal and public well-being and the benefits that come from collective efforts towards community spaces that everyone can enjoy. Pick up your trash, right? Maybe contribute by helping plant a garden in your community. Maybe it's going to be about painting a mural and creating something that other people find beautiful and can enjoy. Bringing in others to be able to kind of complete these tasks so we can all enjoy these community spaces together. Now, like I said, the conjunction to Uranus will indicate a period of highlighted stress or tension, but it also can be intellect, original thinking, and a strong desire to change traditional ideas and norms in the realm of communication and mental process. So this aspect is going to bring a very bold and unconventional energy. It's great for innovative thinking and opening the door to revolutionary or unconventional ideas. Here's a list of things that I made that I would watch for during this particular conjunction. Other than intellectual stimulation, right? This is a day where you may not want to have the extra cup of coffee or the extra espresso if you can help it, because there is this sense of feeling like it's stimulating the mind. It's stimulating how we connect and how we communicate. And it can be good because it can allow for breakthroughs in thought and communication, but it can also be where we're just feeling kind of fried. This is happening also in a degree that is connected to Pisces. So, alcohol, drug interferences, pharmaceutical issues, things like that can kind of come up that can impair literally or create irregular issues with breathing or with our bodies. So you want to be mindful of that. Especially with that moon coming into conjunction with Saturn at 18 degrees, it is possible there can be some strange and shocking news that's coming up pertaining to, some of these particular health or pharmaceutical companies. Watch for innovative thinking, because it does encourage us with the conjunction to Uranus to be innovative, and it's really pushing us on an individual level to explore new ideas and perspectives. Keep in mind, this is ruled by Venus. So Venus is hanging out in Gemini in conjunction to the sun. So it's about new ways of sharing, new ways of communicating, you know, some new kind of app or social media or some new network or channel or ways of communicating are likely going to be popping up. Yes, there can be disruptive communication. Yes, I have seen with Mercury, Uranus, internet outages and major storms and things that cause problems with communications. But also it can lead to sudden, surprising, and disruptive communication. This can manifest as new, unexpected news or insights. So being that Venus is connected to the sun, it can be about traveling, it can be about online stuff, it can be about learning, it can be about vehicles and cars. So that's something else that I would kind of think about, because we have some mutual reception going on between Mercury and Venus as they're kind of in each other's signs. Definitely, like when I think of Venus, which is about relating and emotions and love, and then Mercury is more kind of like mental and it's more about communication. It may be harder to get the point across and like communicate and tell people how we feel. Like there could be something that gets kind of jumbled and it can create some issues in our relationships. And also just Mercury, Uranus, it's like very sudden, unexpected, you know, speech patterns and just kind of blurting out and like saying things. So sometimes, you know, we can be thinking so much more quickly than, you know, our mouth can kind of keep up, and we can kind of feel like we like word vomit all over the place. So that can happen also. All right, so we've got technological interest, which I think is a given with these conjunctions in Gemini and the trines to Pluto. But this conjunction often sparks a keen interest in technology, science, and other fields that require abstract reasoning. So likely it's going to be about information, data, especially pertaining to food or auto industry stuff or things pertaining to cell phones. It can be about the news coming out about the effects of radiation with gadgets and phones and stuff that's kind of like shocking and surprising. But also just more communication and chatter that can be kind of going on, you know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, that kind of stuff. Especially Gemini. Gemini is 2, so it's twins. So there can be a lot of information coming out about, you know, some kind of company that's owned by brothers, or, you know, that there is a network that's splitting off into like another network, or there is some significant like pair of people that are coming together that's sharing some information, and it's just like all over the news. As we see when this conjunction happens, that moon coming into conjunction with Saturn can be this feeling of, you know, like that information having a difficult time getting out or being seen, or it's not going to be seen on all news platforms, but you may be able to, you know, look at it through an app on your phone, right? Gemini. So there is going to be something that's kind of like shocking and surprising, and it's like not going to be something that's going to be widely reported everywhere, I would anticipate. All right, so something else that I notice about this conjunction definitely is impatience and distraction. Although Taurus is known for being very patient, Uranus is not. So I do anticipate that this can bring about some impatience with ignorance and a tendency to get easily distracted by new interests. Mercury is like a butterfly, it's kind of flying all over the place, and Uranus is just kind of like, what's that? What's this? And it's like kind of binging all over. So it can be hard to be focused, and we can also get kind of agitated if we're feeling like other people are not paying attention to what we're saying, or like if it's not well received. Relationship dynamics can definitely be changing because, you know, Mercury's communication and Uranus can represent our collectives, our friends, you know, who we're kind of connecting with on the internet. So it can indicate a time where, you know, there's dynamic mental stuff going on. There is radical differences of thinking and communication styles, and there can be some conflict when it comes to communication with others, with what we like, what we want, you know, what we need for security, what we value, and there can be some difference of opinion. Watch for financial shifts, because Uranus in Taurus is not comfortable. It does not like being in this particular sign, because Uranus is all over the place and Taurus wants it to be kind of peaceful and calm. So when we have this conjunction, it can signify major shifts or innovations in financial systems and the way we relate to money. I think about issues with ATM machines. I think about issues with getting money on and off of platforms. I think about some kind of sudden unexpected spike in the market. Likely though, even though Mercury Uranus is definitely like shocking and surprising news, this is happening at 24 degrees. So this is a Pisces degree, and this represents something that can be vague, obscure, something we can't see very clearly, something that's like manipulated or distorted in some way. So that's why I keep looking at Venus and I'm like, well, what is it? It's news that's getting ready to kind of come out about something. As the Sun and Venus are aligning, it's also coming in or building into a square with Saturn. So it's going to be something that, you know, is going to be censored or it is going to be limited, right? So let's actually look at this 24 degrees in degree astrology, just to give you guys a little bit of like that flavor. Let's see. There we go. So 12, there it is. There we go. Okay, so 12 degrees is a Pisces degree, so stay with me. 12 and 24, right? So this is a Pisces energy within Taurus, and we've got Mercury, Uranus. So shocking surprise information that can be about something disappearing, money disappearing, right? Information disappearing, a loss of something, something that's secret, being kept secret, fears, anything relating to mental diseases, mental institutions, hospitals, doctors, things that are invisible, medications, pharmacies, pharmacists, isolated places, outskirts of town, monasteries, religious or divine in nature, hotels, things at night, airs, mistakes, oils, gas, photography, drug dealers, things that are false, insecure, obscure, vague, foggy, research, by the sea, fishermen, things that are about drowning, poisoning, or things that are dealing with escape. So something that comes to mind, this is just kind of me just riffing, but I saw some stuff on social media this week that's saying that at the end of May, the Vatican is anticipating putting out some like preliminary information about how to interpret or how to better understand literal like spirit phenomena. Like if you were to see apparitions, right? Which is kind of weird. This is like the Vatican talking about being like, okay, so you might like be seeing some ghosts or you might be like seeing things and like this is what it is. As I record this, it's still the beginning of May. It has not come out yet. I don't know what it's going to actually entail, but I believe it was literally about apparitions, which is like AKA ghosts, right? So that's kind of interesting because I think about things that are vague, and Taurus is about things that are visible and, you know, things that people might start hearing or seeing or experiencing that can be startling. And it's like, what is it? Go look into Project Bluebeam. That's all I have to say. But also recently this week, damning information, all kinds of stuff coming out with testimony within the, I think it was the CIA, talking about that mind control devices and experiments are real, they're happening, it can influence the way that people are thinking, they can actually be focused on a personal basis, and that there are ways to be able to influence how they're communicating, thinking, and what they're experiencing. Very Mercury, Uranus, right? And so I think that this is also something that's worth mentioning. It goes beyond just some of these strange scenarios that we heard. I think it was in Washington about like some politicians experiencing Havana syndrome. But this is like, oh, it's happening on like everyday Americans. What? So don't think this is going to be necessarily published like on the news, but I am anticipating hearing more stuff about this for sure. All right, and then unpredictability. So, you know, Uranus's influence brings sudden changes and unpredictability. So it's a time to be open to new ideas and unexpected events. But at the same time, that doesn't take away from the fact that it's like shocking and surprising. I'm wondering, are we going to hear something about some like major heist? Is there going to be a bunch of money that gets hacked from like a certain platform? Not a financial advisor, can't tell you guys what to do, but I will tell you that with some of these conjunctions to Uranus that's taking place, and also some of the squares that are going to be happening with Pluto, probably not safe to be leaving money on exchanges. Just keep that in mind, and also be mindful of what's going on within your country and your banking, because likely there's going to be information coming out about some kind of move to potentially offering some kind of digital currencies. And this will become real. You guys will start to see this in certain places around the world. Now we move to June the 3rd. This is the last aspect that we're going to be seeing with Mercury, and this will be Mercury at 29 degrees, critical degree, coming into a sextile with Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees. So it's like the most Taurus way of communicating, the most about information, values, resources. this is nice. I like the sextiles to Saturn and Neptune. I feel like it is a harmonious aspect, although at critical degrees. And when Mercury sextiles Neptune, it creates much more of an intuitive and creative atmosphere. It's great for communication and thought processes that are more creative. It encourages empathy and imagination and the ability to connect with others on a much deeper level. It also supports artistic expression, spiritual insights, and the exploration of dreams and fantasies. Great day for some intuitive writing, to get a reading, to be, booking a tarot reading, to possibly be focusing on dream interpretation, taking a little bit of time to meditate, rest, recuperate, and really kind of tap into Neptune's energy. When you blend these two together in a sextile, it's about taking a balanced approach to communication, right, with Saturn, where ideas are grounded in practical and considerations, and then it builds into a sextile with Neptune, where we're grounded, but we're still inspired by our imagination and intuition, and it's a time where clear, rational thinking can be combined with a deeper understanding of emotional and spiritual aspects. You may have to read between the lines a little bit when Mercury is sextiling Neptune, but I definitely feel like people will be able to read some things or hear some news or stuff coming out in the world and go like, I don't know, I just don't really think that I believe that, and like intuitively you'll be like, I don't align with that. Or I feel like there's something else kind of going on here, I'm going to kind of see what's going on. Certainly like Mercury in Taurus square Pluto and the Mercury-Uranus conjunction, they're very Uranian flavored. So this is going to be a time where you're going to hear some wild kind of like conspiracy-esque stuff and you'll be like, I don't know if I believe that. And then as we get later in the transit, you'll be like, maybe there is some truth to that, I always like to joke and say like conspiracy theorists are really just people who were right about 6 months ahead of time. And then people start to look around and go like, okay, there was some truth to that. So there's always a little bit of truth, I think, in every conspiracy. Certainly this transit is going to be pretty thought-provoking because I think we're going to start to find right around the time Mercury is dipping into Gemini, which will be later on June the 3rd, that conjunction to Jupiter and that trine to Pluto is going to be about being like, oh no, there is this like movement of this new information or how we're gaining information or what we're doing with money and that kind of stuff. So I think we will see a lot of that stuff kind of come to pass. Anyway, I hope that's helpful in giving you guys a little bit more insight. Check the links in the description. If you guys click on the drop down button below, I'll put all of these dates in there so that way you can see it and see what's kind of going down, and you can add that to your calendar if that's something that you want to do. I would love to take you guys through the 12 rising signs and talk to you a little bit about where Mercury is going through your chart, how to make the most of it, and what to be aware of. As a reminder, I am a Western astrologer, so I practice Western tropical astrology. I am not a Vedic astrologer. For the purpose of my my presentation today, I do use the whole sign method. So you're going to want to know what your rising sign is. That's the 9 o'clock hour. That's going to tell you which house Mercury is transiting through. That house has a specific kind of meaning. It's where in your life Mercury is kind of stirring things up a little bit. If you don't know your natal chart, check out astro.com or a birth chart calculator. Most of the time you can do it for free online. Just put in your birthday, your time, date, and location. Cast the chart and look at the 9 o'clock hour. That's going to be your ascendant. Find Taurus. It's the one with the little bull horns. That's going to be the house where you're seeing the Mercury transit. If that all sounds like Latin, consider booking a reading with me. I'd love to read your chart for you. And as a reminder, my Tauruses, my Virgo, and my Gemini risings, you guys are going to be feeling this the most. All right, so let's start with Aries and Aries rising. What's going on, guys? How are you doing? So let's take a look. We're going to be seeing, obviously, this Mercury transit will be taking place in your second house for you, Aries. So a lot of what I've been kind of talking about really resonates with you, right? Your second house Mercury transit is probably going to lead more to like a focus on practical and financial planning, discussions about resources and your values. Mercury represents your third house of the mind, communication and learning, and your sixth house, which deals with organization, health, and services. So maybe you're learning more about where your food is coming from. Maybe you're deciding that you want to hire somebody to help you with accounting. Maybe you're deciding that you want to get something in order, or that you're, needing to spend a little bit more money on your health or on your pets. this is kind of like the combination of that 3rd and 6th house ruler in your 2nd. But definitely your mind's on your money, your money's on your mind with this powerful kind of transit of planets in Taurus in your 2nd house. The card that you get is the Lovers. So it's about being like, I want to talk about what I love. I want to talk about love, relationships. There is a sense of really letting yourself talk about or feel like you're indulging more in what you enjoy. And so this could be, like I said, a good book. This could be learning how to cook. This could be learning some kind of new skill. But there's definitely this like romantic kind of side to it with the Lovers card coming up, because it's about options and choices. So making decisions about where you're investing things. Good luck, Aries. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's going on, Taurus? You're going to be a little chatterbox for the next month or so. We've got Mercury moving through your sign. So Mercury is going to be moving through your 1st house, Taurus. It does make you communicate more. It does make you kind of move around a little bit more. Mercury has connections to your 5th house of romance, creativity, and children, dating as well, and your 2nd house of resources, self-esteem, money, and personal pleasure. So I like this transit for you, Taurus. I think that on one hand, it's about, I think, having a much more grounded approach to self-expression and communication. You know, as you go through this transit, you may find yourself communicating more directly and practically, but I also feel like it's about speaking up and being like, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I love. Wonderful time to be talking about, you know, your personal style, talking and expressing your own needs. You may be much more romantic during this transit. You may also be much more interested in creative projects, having fun, dating, and children. So that's like a whole theme that goes on with your 5th house. The card that I got for you is the Page of Swords. How appropriate for a Mercury transit. So this can be about you learning how to communicate in a new way. Pages are usually youthful energies, so it represents something brand new that you're just learning to kind of like get the hang of. Maybe it's possible that, you know, you're investing a little bit of time or money or energy in like a new hobby or like something that you're doing new that's fun, right? 5th house. This can also be about younger people, so communication with air signs. So Geminis, Libras, Aquariuses can pop up. It can be about communicating, talking about your kids, talking to your kids. And also it can be really kind of piquing your interest when it comes to talking more about dating. Good luck, Taurus. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. You're going to be experiencing Mercury's transit through Taurus in your natal 12th house. All right, so for you, Gemini, interesting to have your ruler go through the 12th house. Obviously, Mercury rules your 1st, so wherever Mercury is what's happening in your kind of your world. Mercury also has connections to your 4th house, okay? So for you to have Mercury going through your 12th house, I feel like this is going to be more for you about the subconscious. It's about spiritual matters. You can have some really wild dreams with this transit. Like you can have some really strong like symbolism that can be coming through dreams or meditation. Great time for healing, resting, recuperating, kind of just chilling out at home. Maybe you're feeling like reorganizing your bedroom or making some changes to your sleep schedule. It may be a time where you're trying to find a place in the house where you can just kind of keep to yourself and you can have some alone time, because the 12th house can kind of be about hiding. And this transit has a tendency to be a little bit more introspective and practical when it comes to taking steps towards some kind of like spiritual practice. So it can be as simple as being like, I have a designated place, you know, in the house that I meditate there every day, or I read a book here every Wednesday, or and I say that because it's the ruler of your 4th house as well. This can be about endings and completions and conclusions pertaining to your home or family members. 12th house is also about healing centers, spiritual centers, you know, traveling or being in foreign lands. So it can be a time where you're feeling like much more alone in that sense, where you're kind of like in a foreign place. And wonderful, wonderful time for spiritual practice if that's something that you're wanting to do, Gemini. The card that I get is the Knight of Cups. So in this case, it's kind of romantic, right? It's about feeling very poetic and creative and expressive and a little bit more maybe dreamy. So there can be much more of like a romantic side kind of coming through with this. I mean, certainly, you know, you're in the 12th and you've got Jupiter, your 7th house ruler there as well. So there can be some kind of like storyline regarding romance and some kind of connection with somebody behind the scenes where it almost feels like dreamlike that's going on. Good luck, Gemini. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You guys are going to be doing this Mercury in Taurus transit in your natal 11th house. For you, my Cancer and Cancer risings, this is the house of friendships and social groups. This transit can encourage practical discussions about group goals and plans. Mercury does rule your 12th house of the subconscious, and it is also connected to your 3rd house of communication, learning, and siblings. Secrets can be revealed by friends. It can also be a time where there is something changing or ending about the way that you're communicating with a certain social group or friendship because of that connection to the 12th house. It can be a time where you are traveling with friends. It can be a time also where you're really focusing on sharing ideas and working on some kind of team project. Working with friends, traveling with friends, spending time with friends is definitely going to be a theme. Remember that, you know, so many planets have already gone through Taurus, right? Sun, Venus, and, you know, Jupiter and Uranus are still there. So there has been some huge focus on the 11th house themes of goals, what you're hoping to achieve, what you desire, right? What kind of ways that you're making money at work, who you're working with, who your friends are. So now Mercury's coming through and it's saying, okay, it's time to now communicate and tell the world, this is what I've created, or, you know, this is who I've been working with, or this is kind of the system that I've been using. When it comes to obtaining, you know, wealth even, right? 2nd house to the 10th. Anyway, I think that this is also a time where there can be news that can be shared on social media platforms. You can be making announcements. There can be announcements about who you're working with, how you're working, launching websites. Things of that nature can be coming up here as well. And just focus on having friends as like a sounding board. So if you're like kind of wanting to, you know, work something out, or if you want to share a presentation, or if there's something you've written, or if you have an idea, like you need people to kind of talk it over with who can give you some solid feedback. The card that I get is the Queen of Wands. There's certainly a lot of these pip cards coming up. So we've got Queen of Wands, so that can be about a fire sign. So like Leos, Aries, and also Sagittarians can pop up during this time. But this can be about feeling much more creative, willing to take risks, having fun. This can be about connecting with somebody and creating something or collaborating in some sort of way. Queens are also about nurturing something. So it can mean that you're really saying, hey, I'm really following my dreams. I'm really taking it serious now. Or I really want to go and, you know, like launch this particular, you know, project. And like, now I'm going to make it happen. The right person can kind of walk into your life and say, yeah, I'll help you do that when the Queen of Wands shows up. Good luck, Cancer. We've got Leo and Leo rising. You'll be experiencing Mercury's transit through Taurus in your natal 10th house of career and reputation. For you, Leo, well, all eyes have been on you. There's definitely been some radical things changing with your career, reputation, or status out in the world, because that's what the 10th house is. Mercury is all about your resources, your money, what you have, what you value, and also your friends and goals. So for Mercury to be going through the 10th house, this can be more announcements of what you've been working on. Now there can be more business negotiations, meetings, there can be traveling, you know, now you can be actually signing deals, agreeing to things. And it's very much about discussions about career advancement and practical steps to improve your image. You might be, you know, having to, you know, sign contracts and negotiate something. You may have to be investing some of your money into your public image, taking headshots, investing in a business. It can be a time also where you're having to kind of organize and go through numbers and things relating to like a salary or like a budget at work as well. But I think this is more about making announcements about the things that you've been working on, that you've been doing, and maybe sharing some of this information with friends, or maybe there is going to be group meetings that are being had at work. Also brings the opportunity to focus more on working with other people and bringing in allies or friendships that you can collaborate here with as well. The card that I get is the Four of Coins. I love this for Taurus actually, because I think that this is about like taking slow and steady steps forward and being very practical. And there's almost like the sense of being like, I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch, or I'm not going to like tell somebody that this is what's going to happen until I have my ducks in a row and like I know I'm ready. So you're taking like really cautious, practical steps forward, and you're really thinking about long-term goals and what you're investing in and what you're building before just telling people. This can be a card that comes up about being too rigid or too stubborn when it comes to how you want to be perceived or how you're communicating at work as well. Watch that Mercury square Pluto, because that can definitely be a time right off the bat with the ingress. It's a little bit more difficult to relate to your fans, your people, your clients, your marketplace, your partners. So there can be like this kind of dominant or domineering kind of side that can come with that square. But once you get out of it, there's a sense of like really being seen and being heard. And I think that the tail end of the transit's going to be a little bit better for you. Anyway, good luck, Leo. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You'll be experiencing Mercury's transit through the sign of Taurus in your natal 9th house. Now, this is great for you, primarily because, well, Mercury rules your chart, and you've got Mercury going through the 9th house, which is about positive happenings, expansion, learning, travel, growth, philosophy. So wherever Mercury is where you are, and it's in a fellow Earth sign, so it'll be making trines to your sun, moon, rising, or personal planets. So when Mercury's in the 9th house, it's a great time to take a course, plan a trip, to learn a new language, to get out there, meet a new mentor, talk to a counselor, learn something about a different culture, expand your mind. It's about traveling and expanding in some way. 9th house is also connected to law, higher education, so college, diplomas, master's degrees, all kinds of things like that. And it can also be about publishing. So this can be a time where there is a focus on publishing or marketing something as well. Now, Mercury doesn't just rule your 1st house, it also rules your 10th house. So it does look like you have an open mind, you're positive and optimistic, maybe even learning something new, which looks like it's leading to some kind of expansion pretty soon in your career. Maybe you have recently graduated and now you're looking for a job. It's also possible that there's some new training, or you're going in a different direction with your career. And so this is getting you thinking about, well, what could I learn? You know, how could I go back? Who do I need to connect with that can help me kind of expand my reputation as Jupiter and Venus are moving into your 10th house of career? One thing I would think about is that this is a really sweet transit before you start seeing Mercury get into your 10th house, squaring Saturn, and also squaring your sign. So that does lead me to believe a lot of Virgo risings are going to be like, now I have 2 jobs, or, you know, now I'm juggling more than one thing, or like now my status is changing in a way that's like very rapid. So before some of these changes kind of happen, really focus on, you know, what do I believe in? What do I think? How can I become a little bit more solid in my philosophy about life, about money, and also who I am? I love this. You get the Emperor. So this is about like handling things like a boss. So I'm kind of feeling like you guys are getting ready to level up in a very big way. Some of you guys with Jupiter going into the 10th house are going to become parents, are going to become CEOs, are going to become, you know, like spouses. Like there's some new status that's about to emerge. And so this is about handling things like a boss. The Emperor can also be about husbands, fathers, you know, bosses, things like that. And it's about being able to feel confident in what you're doing. So I think this transit is about really like learning or focusing on what you believe, so that way you can be more confident as you take on some of these new storylines in these next couple of months. I love that for you, Virgo. Good luck. We've got Libra and Libra rising. For you, Libra, you're going to be having Mercury's transit in the sign of Taurus in your natal 8th house. So Mercury rules the 12th house of the subconscious, things that are hidden, kind of behind the scenes. It can be mental health related. It can also be about intuition. It can be about foreign places, hidden things in your psyche. And then it's also the 9th house ruler, which is about, you know, culture and travel and your belief system. 8th house can be a bit of a tricky house. So, you know, you've already had all these planets going through here, Libra. You have seen how many changes and transformations have been happening just recently over the last couple of weeks with all these planets in Taurus in your 8th house. Taxes, other people's money, rebirth, This can be about psychological changes. This can be about joint resources, you know, all of that stuff. So now here comes Mercury, which means that there can be conversations back and forth with other people about spending, about debt, about paying off loans. Mercury can quite literally be a document, an email, a letter. So the 8th house can be about some like unexpected conversation or communication you're having with somebody that's like a tax professional or your partner about your credit card statement, or it can also be about insurance claims or things of that nature. So when you have this transit, I think that it will possibly lead to discussions about financial planning, inheritance, or shared resources. But there can also be some things that can come up that are unexpected, out of the box, brand new, that you did not see coming. And I think it could be about expenses relating to travel or expenses relating to habits. And it's about getting on the same page with another person and finding a way to be able to work through some of the stress pertaining to these changing financial situations. Although I will say for you Libra, because Venus has been in conjunction to Jupiter, likely it's about you now having conversations about what's coming in, not necessarily about what you're losing. The card that I got for you is the Tower. Wah, wah. So Libra, the Tower is basically about saying, you know, whatever has happened, like we have to move on from this. Like, you know, it can be some kind of dramatic news. It can be a shocking surprise bill or something that comes in the mail. It can be about this realization that you're at your end of your rope when it comes to some kind of financial stress or yeah, just something where you're like, okay, that's done. You know, we can't exhaust that financial option any longer. The Tower is a difficult card, but it's saying that there needs to be conversations that are had so that way you can finally get to the bottom of this and have clarity and finally proceed forward. Good luck, Libra. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You're going to be experiencing Mercury's transit through the sign of Taurus in your 7th house. So this will be in your opposite sign, Scorpio. 7th house is about relationships and other people. You've had a lot of that recently because there's been so many planets in Taurus the last couple of weeks. Truth be told, there is something changing about your relationships to other people. The 7th house can be with a counselor, with a spouse, with a girlfriend, boyfriend. It can be with clients, your marketplace. But I do think that, you know, this has been about indulgence, pleasure, growth, beauty, love. Maybe you've been focusing on like dating and meeting new people. Maybe you've just been having an influx of like working with clients. Mercury does rule your joint resources, so it represents other people's money, like your partners, banking, or clients. It also has connections to the 11th house of goals. So it does seem to me as Mercury is kind of coming in, there is a need to communicate and talk about organization of some kind. Jupiter's about to move into your 8th house, as will Venus. So it does look like you're going to receive some kind of a boost in your income through another person. Some money's going to come your way. Maybe it's going to be about inheritance. Maybe it's going to be about investments paying off. And I think Mercury in the sign might mean that you're wanting to meet with another person, talk about your financial goals and how you can actually continue to grow your resources. I see it being positive for you. I think that it'll lead to discussions about the practical aspects of relationships and partnerships as well. You may notice much sweeter kind of communication and conversations with partners. People can also come in pairs. This can also be about your relationship that you're having to siblings or to who you're banking with. Watch for opportunities to meet people through social situations if you're single because of Mercury's connection to your 11th house. And you might just feel more chatty and communicative with your friends. The card that I got for you is Judgment. So it's interesting that like outside of Mars, because Mars is not in Taurus yet, but you know, when I look at the Sun, Venus, you know, Jupiter, Uranus, all these planets have kind of gone through there where it's been like this fast forward when it comes to relationship stuff. And like now here's Mercury that's like, wait a second, you know, I'm trying to play catch up here. We need to have conversations that we haven't had, or we need to discuss things that we haven't discussed yet. So it almost seems like maybe in some situations you've kind of put the cart before the horse and now you're like, hold on, we need to back up and have these conversations because like decisions are being made. So it can very much be about merging your life with another person. So conversations about joint resources, taxes, It can be about health insurance. It can be about car insurance, finding ways to be like, okay, how do we kind of bring our lives together, right? And finding ways also to make more money together. So you need to have these conversations because it seems like it's really important to better suss out where other people are standing financially and what you guys can actually afford. Good luck, Scorpio. We've got Sag and Sag rising. What's going on, Sagittarius? You'll be experiencing Mercury's transit in the sign of Taurus in your natal 6th house. Well, the good news is Mercury really likes being in the 6th house. It can really do well here. It can get super organized. It can be focused on health and wellness and productivity, being on time, because it has that natural kind of connection to Virgo. Mercury rules traditionally your work and career zone as well as your relationship zone. So there's a lot of offering assistance and help to other people, right? So it's like whether it's your partner, if you're in a relationship, how can I help you? What do you need? Or it's your clients. This can be a time when you're focusing on getting back on track, maybe getting back into the swing of working if you've taken a break, really focusing on better health habits, finding ways to create more time or better balance in your schedule between work and also your private life. I think that this is generally the house of health and work. So this transit can encourage practical planning and communication relating to these areas. But remember, Taurus is about what we're eating, what we're spending, what we enjoy, right? Pleasure. So this might be that you're having to kind of say, okay, where can I find more pleasure time? Been a huge theme for you recently, the time to relax, unwind, enjoy, even if that's just taking a break and not having any plans at all. If you're looking for a job, this is a great transit for that. If you are also looking to have new health practitioners, if you're looking to, create more time to spend with partners, that's another way of looking at this. Certainly as, Jupiter and Venus and the Sun are moving through your partnership aspect in the 7th house, Mercury can be saying, you know what, like now I've met somebody, I want to rearrange and change my work schedule, or I'd like to take more time, or I need to kind of get my things in order so that way I can have more time to get out there, date, and spend time with other people. I do think that reorganizing, cleaning up your schedule at work is something I would recommend. I would also really pay attention to what's going on with pet health, because that's a theme here with Mercury going through the 6th house as well. The card that I get is the 8 of Cups. I really feel like this is about after a period of perhaps overindulging, right? With Jupiter and Venus and Uranus in the 6th house. If you've recently gone on vacation, or if you have fallen off the wagon and you've been eating off of your diet, or if you've skipped going to the gym or anything like that, Mercury coming into the 6th house is like, okay, time to kind of get back into schedule, focus on getting organized and getting back to work. So I see the 8 of Cups as being like, okay, we're moving away from something that we've been doing. Now we're getting back on track. So I think that you're going to be enjoying this more. And if you need the support of a partner or another person to help you, likely you're going to have support, but you are leaving some of your old working habits, lifestyles, and patterns behind. Good luck, Sag. Okay, so now we have Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Mercury's transit through the sign of Taurus in your natal 5th house. So this is another earth sign, so you guys are sisters in that sense. So it'll be playing friendly with your sun, moon, or rising as you experience earth trines from your 1st to the 5th house, which is all about pleasure, creativity, joy, and romance. So for you, Capricorn, in this house, it's about creativity, it's about romance, it's about dating, having fun, taking chances. Mercury's transit through here, I think, is about taking a much more practical approach to creative projects and also romantic discussions. Mercury does rule your 6th house of work, health, habits, and daily routine. It also has connections to your travel sector, your 9th house, and this is also about education, and it can be about the higher mind. Personally, I feel like this is about maybe planning a vacation, getting things in order and making plans to travel, making plans to be able to learn a new hobby, making plans to go to a new place. If you have children, it might be more communication with your children about them going to school. It can also be about their health. Equally, this can also be about you thinking about, I think, like learning a new hobby. And so maybe you're finding like a teacher for that. So if you want like an art teacher, or if you're trying to find somebody to kind of teach you about investing, or somebody to teach you how to build or create things, you can find somebody for that as well. What else here? So yeah, I think also those of you guys who have really been interested, or if you've been focusing on like building your own business, or like your own like your own side hustle, Mercury coming in here could be like you getting ready to be like, okay, now I'm going to launch a website or something, because some of you guys are actually going to have more than one job. You're going to have like a creative job that you're doing on the side, and you're going to have a full-time gig, if that makes sense. What else? Hanging out, making time for your kids, making time for romance, making time for fun. That really seems to be the focus as you have this transit through your 5th house. Be playful, take chances, be creative, make time for creative time, make time for dating if that's something that you're wanting to do, and if you're wanting to meet people. And enjoy yourself. The 5th house is about like going to a bar and playing trivia, like very Mercury in the 5th house. It can be about playing board games with your kids, really finding ways to kind of creatively express yourself by writing, sharing, and performing. The card that I get is the 7 of Cups. I think this is for you about letting go of any fears and like breaking down any walls, like with the creative process. Like 7 of Cups is like kind of like a daydreaming energy. It's like, okay, I could do this or I could do that, and wouldn't this be nice? And it's like learning how to play and creating more time for inspiration. Like, yes, this is a card where not everything that you're wanting to do is going to stick. This is a card that it is more about being in the illusion and the mystical and the magical rather than reality. Maybe this is about saying, I want to get back into the habit of writing again, or I want to get back into the habit of painting again, but I just need to feel inspired. So creating that atmosphere where you feel like it can kind of flow seems to be the theme. Not having any predetermined or expected outcomes, right? With romance, with creative projects or anything like that. Just creating the time to be in the flow and enjoy yourself, and like letting creativity kind of happen and find you. So I hope that that's helpful for you, especially those of you guys who are trying to focus on like your own business or your own creative project, because it seems like this is where it's all kind of getting organized and you're having to find time to do more of it. Good luck, Capricorn. We have Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You guys will be experiencing Mercury's transit through the sign of Taurus in your natal 4th house. All right, so 4th house is home and family, right? Mercury's communication. It can be siblings. It can be discussions. And it looks to me like there can be changing homes, or communicating more with family, or a sibling coming to visit with you, or a younger person being in the home, a birthday party that's brewing, talk or conversation or communication with your children, talking about moving in with a creative like partner, or with a romantic partner. That could be happening here as well. Mercury rules your 5th house of lovers, creativity, and children, and your 8th house of joint resources and transformation. There may be some big news or exciting news for one of your kids or one of your family members. There may be more conversation you're having with your roommates about parties and, exciting things that you're doing socially at home. There may be opportunities, like I said, to really expand your home and expand something about your creative space, right? The 5th house can be, opening up a room and turning it into your writing room, or turning it into a playroom or a crafting room. This can be also about preparations for kids to come home and to visit and to kind of celebrate. And I think whatever you're doing, whatever discussions or reorganization or kind of going back and forth between 2 homes, you're navigating that in a way that's really stable, secure, and it's all about finding practical solutions. So if it's like, well, we need another, room for a guest. Okay, let's reorganize this room and we'll make space for them. Or, what's going to happen? We've got, one of our kids moving back in with us. Okay, well, we'll figure this out. We'll communicate and figure out the best way to kind of make it happen for them to be here. Because Mercury likes to kind of reorganize things. So the change will be happening within your home, and it's connected somehow to romantic partnerships, creativity, or kids. And that transformation is coming directly from the 8th house. Now, it also can be talking about something about your joint resources. So it can be, well, you know, do we hold on to our house and, you know, refinance it, or do we decide to sell it? And do we get something smaller? Is it time to talk about taxes in regards to the home? Are you dealing with a property or an estate issue? That kind of stuff can be coming up here as well. So you're going to have to kind of reevaluate, you know, what's the best solution for some of these positive changes that are kind of going on with you and your family. For some of you guys, you might actually be moving, so we'll see. Okay, so the card that I have for you is the Devil, and I think the Devil is in the details. This is very much connected to Saturn, right? That's what the Devil card is connected to, and that happens to be your traditional ruler. So my interpretation is that you're probably going to want to wait until you start seeing Mercury sextile Saturn later in the transit, because you're thinking much more conservatively about your money. You're more cautious about what you're spending. You don't want to kind of spend an arm and a leg on things relating to home and family, and you're wanting to find some kind of change that's going to make sense physically and financially for your situation. This may mean that you can say, well, we can keep a house and rent it and move to another one. This may also mean that you decide that you're willing to do with less in order to kind of embrace this new beginning when it comes to your home and your family. And likely Saturn is actually going to protect you in this process, but devil's in the details. Mercury and Taurus, take your time when it comes to negotiating, take your time when it comes to reading through everything, and really make sure that you find a agreement or a decision that's going to work best for you, your family, your roommates, your kids, whoever is involved, and don't get stuck in a situation that you cannot get out of. Good luck, Aquarius. And we have Pisces and Pisces rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Mercury's transit through the sign of Taurus in your natal third house. All right, so for you Pisces, Mercury loves the third house, all right, because it has that connection traditionally to Gemini. So it functions very well here. It can multitask, it can walk and chew gum, it can communicate, write letters, it can text and do all the things that it needs to do. Now, Mercury represents your relationships, your one-on-one relationships, whether it's a spouse, a partner, some kind of commitment. It can be your relationships also to your healthcare practitioners, Virgo. It can be your relationships to a counselor, your business, your marketplace, and how you communicate with coworkers. Now, the third house is siblings, so there can be much more back and forth with siblings. It can be a time where you're calling them, hanging out with them, traveling with them. It can be a time where you're really focusing on better communication with these people or with your romantic partners, because this is the house of communication. So this transit could encourage much more practical and structured conversations. You may find yourself more interested in learning new skills. This is a time where if you're wanting to learn about investing, if you're wanting to learn about cooking, if you're wanting to learn about gardening, if you want to learn a new language, wonderful time to do these things. You could be considered traveling. You could be considering moving. You could be looking at making changes also with a car or a vehicle. You might be considering signing a lease of some sort. This can happen with this transit as well. Something that I think about is that Saturn is going to be receiving sextiles, and Saturn is in your sign. So it's like with Mercury sextile Saturn, it's going to really allow you to tap into that Saturn energy and be like, is this right for me or is it not? Should I say something? Should I not? Do I have a good feeling about this or not? Great time for creative writing. Wonderful time if you want to be learning tarot. Wonderful time if you want to be getting more into writing, launching websites, you know, putting out some kind of like YouTube channel, being more active, trying to make money online. All of that stuff is really great for this transit. And, you know, Mercury is connected to your home and your family. And it can be a time where you're organizing, going back and visiting family. You're organizing a move, right? Jupiter is about to move into your fourth house as well. So some of you guys are actually going to be moving, or you're going to be going and visiting family. So lots of phone calls and kind of like planning and stuff going on with extended relatives and traveling, but it can be a really wonderful time. The card that you get is the Two of Swords, which is funny. Mercury in the third house. It's like, do I do this? Do I not? What are you going back and forth about? Are you going back and forth about moving? Are you going back and forth about traveling? Where have you not made up your mind? You know, I think when Mercury conjuncts Uranus, there's going to be like some kind of like snap decision where you're going to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is the plan. So maybe you're kind of in limbo right now and you're like, I'm just kind of traveling a little bit until I figure out where I want to land. That would make sense. Especially because Jupiter is going to go into your 4th house, so it expands your home, but there's going to be this square between Jupiter and Saturn, so you may feel like you're in a year where you're going to move and then you know you're going to move again. Or you're going to be living in a place and fixing it up and then selling it and then relocating. Or you're traveling somewhere for a little bit and then you're going to come back and then you're going to move. So keep an open mind with this transit. You don't need to make a decision yet about any of these things. Communicate when at all possible, especially with Mercury going through this house. Contracts, negotiations, communications, emails, meetings, everything actually goes so much more smoothly. And I really feel like it can give you quite a significant mental boost and also presence if you have an online business, okay? Don't hesitate. Anyway, I hope that's helpful for you guys when it comes to better assessing this Mercury in Taurus transit. Let me know, how do you guys feel about it? Do you have Mercury in Taurus or Mercury in your 2nd house? I'd love to hear all about it. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We are here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, bringing you astro weather, new and full moon reports, horoscopes, and much, much more. If you guys want to know more about me and my work, check out my links in the description below. Head over to beyondtheveiledtarot.com. There you can see all about me, my courses on tarot and astrology, some of my astrology calendars, and much, much more. You guys can book personal readings with me as well. I'm taking clients now in the month of August. Enjoy this transit, guys. I hope you enjoy the slower paced communication. Watch out for some of that weird conspiracy stuff. Not everything you're going to hear is true. And I will catch you guys back here on Thursday. Until next time, take care.